Were it not for my past devotional service, how could I, a most unclean keeper of a prostitutes, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntha Pati when I was just ready to die? Certainly, it could not have been possible. Wow. Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The name Vaikuntapati, which means the master of the spiritual world, is not different from the name Vaikuntha. Ajamila, who was now a realized soul, could understand that because of his past spiritual activities in devotional service, he had gotten this opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntapati in his horrible condition at the time of death. Wow. Text 34. Ajamila continued, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to the all auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayana? Those purport by Srila Prabhupada, those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayana, Krishna, through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. We had fallen into abominable lives as meat eaters, drunkards, and women hunters who performed all kinds of sinful activities. But now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. By the grace of the Lord, we are opening many branches. And should we use this good fortune to chant the holy name of the Lord and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, we must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions and should always very carefully not fall from the most exalted life. Text 35. I am such a sinful person, but since I have now gotten this opportunity, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in devotional service so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Every one of us should have this determination. We have been elevated to an exalted position by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master. And if we remember that this is a great opportunity and pray to Krishna that he will not fall, that we will not fall again, our lives will be successful. Text 36 and 37. Because of identifying oneself with the body, one is subjected to desires for sense gratification, and thus one engages in many different types of pious and impious action. This is what constitutes material bondage. Now, I shall disentangle myself from my material bondage, which has been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's illusory energy in the form of a woman. Being a most fallen soul, I was victimized by the illusory energy and have become like a dancing dog led around by a woman's hand. Now I shall give up all lusty desires and free myself from this illusion. I shall become merciful, well wishing friend to all living entities and always absorb myself in Krishna consciousness. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This should be the standard of determination for all Krishna conscious persons. A Krishna conscious person should free himself from the clutches of Maya, and he should also be compassionate to all others suffering in the clutches. The activities of the Krishna consciousness movement are meant not only for oneself, but for others also. This is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. One who is interested in his own salvation is not as advanced in Krishna consciousness as one who feels compassion for others and who therefore propagates the Krishna consciousness movement. Such an advanced devotee will never fall down, for Krishna will give him special protection. That is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. Everyone is like a play toy in the hands of the illusory energy and is acting as he moves him. One should come to Krishna consciousness to release oneself and also to release others. Text 38. Simply because I chanted the holy name of the Lord in the association of devotees, my heart is now becoming purified. Therefore, I shall not fall victim again to the false lures of material sense gratification. Now that I have become fixed in the absolute truth, henceforth I shall not identify myself with the body. I shall give up false conceptions of I and mine and fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Oh, well, that's a good decision. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. How a living entity becomes a victim of the material condition is lucidly explained in this verse. The beginning is to misidentify the body as oneself. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins with the spiritual instruction that one is not the body, but is within the body. This consciousness can be possible only if one chants the holy name of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and always keeps oneself in the association of devotees. This is the secret of success. Hari Bol. This is the secret of success. Therefore, we stress that one should chant the holy name of the Lord and keep oneself free from the contaminations of this material world, especially the contaminations of lusty desires for illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. With determination, one should vow to follow these principles and thus be saved from the miserable condition of material existence. The first necessity is to become freed from the bodily concept of life. Okay. Text 39. Because of a moment's association with devotees, the Vishnu Dutas, Ajamila, detached himself from the material conception of life with determination. Thus freed from all material attractions, he immediately started for Haridwar. Purports by Srila Prabhupada. The word mukta sarvam ubandhana indicates that after this incident, Ajamila, not caring for his wife and children, went straight to Haridwar for further advancement in his spiritual life. Our Krishna consciousness movement now has centers in Vrindavan and Navadvipa, so that those who want to live a retired life, whether they be devotees or not, can go there and with determination give up the bodily concept of life. One is welcome to live in those holy places for the rest of his life in order to achieve the highest success by the very simple method of chanting the holy name of the Lord and taking prasada. Well, that seems like a good life. Thus, one may return home back to Godhead. We do not have a center in Haridwar, but Vrindavan and Sridham Mayapur are better for devotees than any other place. The Chaitanya Chandrodaya temple offers one a good opportunity to associate with devotees. Let us all take advantage of this opportunity. Wow. Thank you, Prabhupada. Text number 40. In Haridwar, Ajamila took shelter at a Vishnu temple, where he executed the process of bhakti yoga. He controlled his senses and fully applied his mind in the service of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The devotees who have joined the Krishna consciousness movement may live comfortably in our many temples and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, they can control the mind and senses and achieve the highest success in life. This is the process descending from time immemorial. Learning from the life of Ajamila, we should vow with determination to do what is necessary to follow this path. Text 41. Ajamila fully engaged in devotional service. Thus, he detached his mind from the process of sense gratification and became fully absorbed in thinking of the form of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If one worships the deity in the temple, one's mind will naturally be absorbed in thought of the Lord and his form. There is no distinction between the form of the Lord and the Lord himself. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is the most easy system of yoga. Yogis try to concentrate their minds upon the form. Second, upon the form of the supersoul, Vishnu, within the heart. But this same objective is easily achieved when one's mind is absorbed in the deity worship in the temple. In every temple, there is a transcendental form of the Lord, and one may easily think of this form by seeing the Lord during arati, by offering boga, and by constantly thinking of the form of the deity. One becomes a first class yogi. This is the best process for yoga, as confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesam mad gatanantaratmana shadavan bhajate yomam samayukatamo mata. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The first class yogi is he who controls his senses and detaches himself from material activities by always thinking of the form of the Lord. Text number 42. When his intelligence and mind were fixed, we're talking about Ajamil, were fixed upon the form of the Lord, the Brahmana Ajamila once again saw before him four celestial persons. He could understand that they were those he had seen previously, and thus he offered them his obeisances by bowing down before them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vishnu Dutas who had rescued Ajamila came before him again, and when his mind was firmly fixed upon the form of the Lord, the Vishnu Dutas had gone away for some time to give Ajamila a chance to become firmly fixed in meditation upon the Lord. Now that his devotion had matured, they returned to take him. Understanding that the same Vishnudutas had returned, Ajamila offered them his obeisances by bowing down before them. Text 43. Upon seeing the Vishnudutas, Ajamila gave up his material body at Hardwar on the bank of the Ganges. He regained his original spiritual body, which was a body appropriate for an associate of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vedi tatvata chakudeham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So this is a very popular and important verse, fourth canto, ninth verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Mm-hmm. The results of perfection in Krishna consciousness is that after giving up one's material body, one is immediately transferred to the spiritual world in one's original spiritual body to become an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some devotees go to Vaikuntha Lokam, and others go to Goloka Vrindavana to become associates of Krishna. Wow, what a wonderful thing. Text 44. Accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, Ajamila uh, boarded an airplane made of gold. Wow. Passing through the airways, he went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon. It's still going on the same thing. They say they're going to go to the moon, but they can never go. They're never going to go, also. The moon is, first of all, whatever moon program they've had in the past, they did not land on the moon. And they're not even trying to go back to the moon right now. After all the big statements and promises and all nonsense, they have never gone to the moon, and they're never going to go to the moon. For many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. However, the spiritual airplanes from the spiritual planets can take one back home, back to Godhead, in a second. The speed of such a spiritual plane can only be imagined. Spirit is finer than the mind, and everyone has experience of how swiftly the mind travels from one place to another. Therefore, one can imagine the swiftness of the spiritual form by comparing it to the speed of the mind. In less than even a moment, a perfect devotee can return home back to Godhead immediately after giving up his material body. Interesting. Text 45. Well, anyway, I really like what Prabhupada said here. He says, for many years, material science. Now, this is like, like 60 years ago. He's writing. For many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. However, the spiritual airplanes from the spiritual planets can take one back home, back to Godhead in a second. All right, this is real knowledge now. Now, that's a fact. I mean, the scientists claim that they went to the moon. They never went to the moon. And now they say that they're going to try and go back to the moon again. That's the proof that they never went in the first place. And they used to say big things like, well, now that we went to the moon, pretty soon we'll have regular uh, regular regular airplanes or something that you can go to the moon, and there'll be colonies on the moon, and you can live there. All that is a bunch of nonsense. They never went in the first place, and they're never going to go to the moon in the future. The moon is a heavenly planet, and you just can't go there with some type of airplane or whatever. Just like for me to go from the United States, let's say, to Europe, some European country, I gotta have a a uh, 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 a
Visa.
I have to be qualified to go. That means that I have to have the money. I have to have the passport. I have to have the ability uh, to go to Europe or some other place with my passport and so forth. And if I don't have all the requisite papers, um, I will not be able to go. So it's not a simple thing. It requires, uh, you know, having the proper information about who we are and what we are, and the money and so forth. So, first of all, the moon is a heavenly planet. Secondly, the inhabitants of the moon, there are many inhabitants of the moon. So, no one has gone there yet, even though they claim that they might have gone in the past. But if they did go in the past, that we're talking about 60 years ago, how come they've never gone again? So the whole thing is a hoax. It's all nonsense. No one can go to the moon. And you can't even live on the moon. We don't have the proper body to live on the moon. The moon is a spiritual planet, and it has its own rules and regulations. So there is a way to go to the moon, but it's not the way through rockets and all that nonsense. That's why they claim that they went to the moon, what is it, 60 or 70 years ago, and they've never gone back again, and they didn't go in the first place. So, coming back to reality, we have to, as Prabhupada writes here, he says, uh, for many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. See, he's telling the truth now. However, the spiritual airplanes from the spiritual planets can take one back home, back to Godhead in a second. The speed of such a spiritual plane can only be imagined. That's true. Spirit is finer than the mind, and everyone has experience of how swiftly the mind travels from one place to another. Therefore, one can imagine the swiftness of the spiritual form by comparing it to the speed of the mind. In less than a moment, a perfect devotee can return home back to Godhead immediately after giving up his material body. Okay, so what I like is in this purport, there's a lot of things I like about this purport, but it begins by, for many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. Do you see how Prabhupada, I mean, that Prabhupada wrote this was about maybe 60 plus years ago. And what he's saying here is true. Material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. That alone, that statement alone, is the truth. And now we're still, I mean, I remember when they were talking about how they were going to go to the moon and then Mars and so forth. They never went. And up until now, they have not gone. And they're not going to go because the moon and Mars and all these planets are not uh, easy to go to. You don't simply go there with a rocket ship. You have to, just like, if I want to go to some European country, I have to get a passport, and I have to have the money, and I have to be able, I have to have the qualification to go there. So that's on the Earth. Now, what about going to another planet like the Moon, which is a heavenly planet? So the all their their Moon and Mars explorations all bogus. They never went in the first place, and they're never going to go in the future. Okay, so text 45. Ajamila was a Brahmana who, because of bad association, had given up all Brahminical culture and religious principles. Becoming most fallen, he stole, which drank, and performed other abominable acts. He even kept a prostitute. Thus he was destined to be carried away to hell by the order carriers of Yamaraja. But he was immediately rescued simply by a glimpse of the chanting of the holy name Narayana. Wow, what a beautiful verse this is. Simply by a glimpse of the chanting of the holy name Narayana. Text 46. Therefore, one who desires freedom from material bondage should adopt the process of chanting and glorifying the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at whose feet all the holy places stand. One cannot derive the proper benefit from other methods, such as pious atonement, speculative knowledge, meditation, and mystic yoga, because even after following such methods, one takes to fruitive activities again. Unable to control his mind, which is contaminated by the base qualities of nature, namely passion and ignorance. Well, that means that one has to be at least in the mode of goodness, and even better, transcendental goodness, to be able to go away from the earth and to visit other planets. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It has actually been seen that even after achieving so-called perfection, many karmis, jnanis, and yogis become attached to material activities. Again, many so-called swamis and yogis give up material activities as false, jagan mitya. But after some time, they nevertheless resume material activities by opening hospitals and schools or performing other activities for the benefit of the public. Sometimes they participate in politics, although still falsely declaring themselves sannyasis, members of the renounced order. The perfect conclusion, however, is that if one actually desires to get out of the material world, he must take to devotional service, which begins with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. The Krishna consciousness movement has actually proved this in the Western countries. Many young boys who were addicted to drugs and who had many other bad habits, which they could not give up, abandoned all those propensities and very seriously engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord as soon as they joined the Krishna consciousness movement. In other words, This process is the perfect method of atonement for actions performed in Raja and Tama, passion and ignorance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.19, Tadarajas Tamo Bhava Kama Lobodaya Shaye Cheta Etar Anavidam Didam Sattve Prasiddhati. As a result of Raja and Tama, or passion and ignorance, one becomes increasingly lusty and greedy. But when one takes to the process of chanting and hearing, one comes to the platform of goodness and becomes happy. As he advances in devotional service, all his doubts are completely eradicated. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarvasamsaya. Thus, the knot of his desire for fruitive activities is cut to pieces. Haribol. Because this very confidential historical narration has the potency to vanquish all sinful reactions, one who hears or describes it with faith and devotion is no longer doomed to hellish life, regardless of his having a material body and regardless of how sinful he may have been. So that's how powerful the hearing of the life of Ajamila is. Yamadutas who carry out the orders of Yamaraj do not approach him even to see him. After giving up his body, he returns home back to Godhead, where he is very respectfully received and worshipped. And by the way, when you go back to Godhead, you are greeted.
Mm.
And they shake your hand and say, "Oh, thank you very much for joining us." It is stated like that. It's not here, but
It's
other places.
it's probably like our initiation.
Yeah.
We do a lot of big celebration when somebody joins.
Yeah.
The Krishna consciousness. In the same way, when we go back to
It's
that.
amazing. Text 49. While suffering at the time of death, Ajamila chanted the holy name of the Lord. But wait a minute. He called out his son's name, but he gave the name Narayan to his son.
So what I understood,
Narayan.
Yeah. So what I understood is only if you have done, if not in this lifetime or prior lifetimes, enough of devotional service,
Yeah.
you would have put your child's name as
The
something, the
holy
holy name, and then you get to call that name at the time of death.
Where did you hear that?
That's what in the purports it was. I mean, it's not direct, but it is kind of explained in the purports. Because of his devotional service, he got the opportunity to call the name of Narayana.
Haribol.
Right. So we may think that some people haven't done enough devotional service in this lifetime, but if they are able to call the name of even their child or whatever, whatever way that name comes to their mind, even accidentally, at the time of death, then they are like already pure devotees at one point. That's where they're and then their consciousness will awaken back at the time of death. That's what it seems like. Just like that's what happened to Ajamila. Because the conversation between what happened between the Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas, normal people cannot see.
Right, but he was able to see
and experience, and then he was able to then realize his true state.
Yeah.
So that means that I think you gave this example that some people who are in coma, that kind of debate and discussion might be happening, and then
Yeah, when a person's in a coma, there's a discussion going on of what to do with him,
hmm,
you know. And like here it's saying, the Amadutas and we're discussing, what to do with Yamaraj, not Yamaraj, what to do with Ajamil.
Ajam.
Yeah.
So, and it looks like after they left,
Mm.
he went to Haridwar. Means like then he came out of coma,
Yes.
and then he realized his position as a devotee, and then he then gave up everything and then went. So that means that's an example of where it's very similar to what can happen in the real life. You put into the coma, but you get the opportunity to
Well, he heard the
realize.
conversation that was going on
Yeah.
about what they were going to do.
Does everybody who goes to coma get to hear that?
I don't know. But it is said here that, well, there are many examples of people that went into coma, into a state of coma,
Hmm.
sometimes for a long period. Right? They don't die; they're kept alive by their parents or by their loved ones, and sometimes they come out of that coma after being in that state for maybe years. So normally it's understood when a person goes in the state of coma, the demigods are discussing what to do with this person. Are they going to liberate him, or they're going to let him die, or whatever? And sometimes people can be in a state of coma for years.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of things that we don't really understand. But when you read the Bhagavatam, then you can begin to understand. So anyway, it says here, while suffering at the time of death, Ajamila chanted the holy name of the Lord. And although the chanting was directed toward his son, he nevertheless returned home back to Godhead. Therefore, if one faithfully and inoffensively, without offense, chants the holy name of the Lord, where is the doubt that he will return to God? That means that he's going to definitely go back to Godhead because he chanted the holy name of the Lord without any material purpose, simply to chant the name. Purport. At the time of death, one is certainly bewildered because his bodily functions are in disorder. At that time, even one who throughout his life has practiced chanting the holy name of the Lord may not be able to chant the Hare Krishna mantra very distinctly. Nevertheless, such a person receives all the benefits of chanting the holy name. Yeah, because he's been chanting, almost like his whole life. And maybe now he can't chant because he's very sick or whatever. But nevertheless, such a person receives all the benefits of chanting the holy name. While the body is fit, therefore, why should we not chant the holy name of the Lord loudly and distinctly? If one does so, it is quite possible that even at the time of death, he will be properly able to chant the holy name of the Lord and with love and faith. This wonderful statement. In conclusion, one who chants the holy name of the Lord constantly is guaranteed to return home back to Godhead without a doubt. Harivilas. Let me read this purport again because it's really nice. Let me start with the verse first. While suffering at the time of death, Harivilas chanted the holy name of the Lord. And although the chanting was directed toward his son, who he named Narayana, he nevertheless returned home back to Godhead. Therefore, if one faithfully and inoffensively chants the holy name of the Lord, where is the doubt that he will return to God? That means he's going to definitely go back to Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. At the time of death, one is certainly bewildered because his bodily functions are in disorder. At that time, even one who throughout his life has practiced chanting the holy name of the Lord may not be able to chant the Hare Krishna mantra very distinctly. Nevertheless, such a person receives all the benefits of chanting the holy name. While the body is fit, therefore, why should we not chant the holy name of the Lord loudly and distinctly? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. If one does so, it is quite possible that even at the time of death, he will be properly able to chant the holy name of the Lord with love and faith. In conclusion, one who chants the holy name of the Lord constantly is guaranteed to return home back to Godhead without a doubt. I like that poetry. Without a doubt. Right? Okay. Now, there's something special here. It's a supplementary note to this chapter. Now, there's not always a supplementary note to the end of a chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but every once in a while you will see a supplementary note to the chapter because it is so important that Prabhupada wants to say something more, so that everyone can have a complete understanding of the canto. So he says, supplementary note to this chapter. Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura's commentary to text 9 and 10 of this chapter form a dialogue concerning how one can become free from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Wonderful statement. Someone may say it may be accepted that by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one becomes freed from all the reactions of sinful life. However, if one commits sinful activities in full consciousness, not only once, but many, many times, he is unable to free himself from the reactions of such sins, even after atoning for them for 12 years or more. How is it possible, then, that simply by once chanting the holy name of the Lord, one immediately becomes freed from the reactions of such sins? So this is an argument by the non-devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur replies by quoting verses 9 and 10 of this chapter. The chanting of the holy name of Lord Vishnu is the best process of atonement for a thief of gold or other valuables, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a brahmana, or for one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru. Oh my God. Or another superior. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders women, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cows. Oh, terrible. And for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of the Supreme Lord. Notice the word may, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, my duty is to give him protection. Okay. But see, now Krishna is not obliged to liberate a sinful person, but he can do it if the person is sincerely chanting, even though he has been very sinful in his life. One may atone for sinful life and vanquish all sinful reactions by chanting the holy name. Okay, so one may, in other words, it is possible for a person who's had a sinful life to uh, to vanquish or overcome all sinful reactions by chanting the holy name. Although this is not called atonement. Ordinarily, atonement may temporarily protect a sinful person. Excuse me. But it does not completely cleanse his heart of the deep-rooted desire to commit sinful acts. Therefore, atonement is not as powerful. Sorry, is not as powerful as the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Yeah, you can. I mean, people go and they sit down with a holy man, and they explain all the sins they committed. And the holy man says, well, okay, you can chant the 2,000 Hail Marys, and you'll be, purified of all those sins that you committed. And then the same person comes back after some time and says, okay, well, I need to get also purified again because I committed so many sins. So that type of that's basically the followers of Christianity, especially the what is it called? The followers of uh, anyway, they have these seances where you go and you declare all the sins that you committed, and then you're given a certain thing to do, like chanting Hail Marys 3,000 times. And after that, you're given that tapasya, chanting the Hail Marys. And then it's understood that all the sinful activities are erased. But then people start again doing the same thing. And again, they come back and try to erase it. So that's not a good process. The best process is to become Krishna conscious and give up all sinful activities. Let's see what Prabhupada says here. He says, one may atone for sinful life and vanquish all sinful reactions by chanting the holy name. Although this is not called atonement. Ordinarily, atonement may temporarily protect a sinful person, but it does not completely cleanse his heart of the deep-rooted desire to commit sinful acts. Therefore, atonement is not as powerful as the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. In the Shastras, it is said that if a person only once chants the holy name and completely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord immediately considers him his ward, meaning a person who's going to be protected and is always inclined to give him protection. That's it. This is confirmed by Sridhara Swami. Thus, when Ajamila was in great danger of being carried off by the order carriers of Yamaraja, the Lord immediately sent his personal order carriers to protect him. And because Ajamila was freed from all sinful reactions, the Vishnudutas spoke on his behalf. Yet Ajamila had named his son Narayan, and because he loved the boy very much, he would call him again and again. That means that he named his son Narayana, and he was always saying the name Narayana, calling his son, Narayana, come here, Narayana, do this, Narayana, don't do that, right? Although he was calling for his son, the name itself was powerful because the name Narayana is not different from the Supreme Lord Narayana. So there are some words like that, right? And one is Krishna and another one is Narayana. So if you name your child Narayana, that means that you're always saying the name of God, right? When Ajamila named his son Narayana, all the reactions of his sinful life were neutralized. I like that word, neutralized. And as he continued calling his son, and thus chanting the holy name of Narayana thousands of times. Yeah. How many times do you say the name of your son? It can be thousands. Narayana, come here. Narayana, don't do this. Narayana, go and fetch the newspaper. Narayana, this. Narayana, that. Right? He was actually unconsciously advancing in Krishna consciousness. You see, just because he named his son Narayana. And why did he do that? Well, because when he was younger, up to around the age of 16, he was actually a devotee. But then he got it mixed up with we saw some low class men and women having sex, and it overwhelmed him, and he started to have a sinful life even when he was around 16. And then for many years, he was a low class person doing all kinds of sinful things. He even married a prostitute. Right? But now, when he was older, and one day he was with his 10th son, and he was, became like he was sick or he had something, he was going to die, and he called his son. He had his 10th son. His 10th son, he called Narayana. And he called out for his son, Narayana, and became purified of all the sins that he had committed. Right? And even though the Yamadutas came to take him to hell, the Vishnudutas immediately came also and stopped the Yamadutas. And they said that we're going to take him back to Godhead. And the Yamadutas were really upset. They said, look, this guy has been sinful for many, many years. He's our man. Why are you stopping us from taking him? And the Vishnu said, no, he chanted the names of God. They said, wait a minute, he wasn't chanting the name of God, he was calling his son. But the Vishnu said, no, it doesn't matter. He was saying the name of God at the moment of death. So that means he's purified. So now it says, one may argue, one may argue, since he was constantly chanting the name of Narayana, how was it possible for him to be associating with a prostitute and thinking of wine? By his sinful actions, he was bringing suffering upon himself again and again, and therefore one may say that his ultimate chanting of Narayana was the cause of his being freed. However, his chanting would then have been a nama aparada, namno balad yasyahi papa buddhi. One who continues to act sinfully and tries to neutralize his sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is nama aparadi, an offender to the holy name. In response, it may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his sins. Yeah, he was simply calling his son. He did not know that he was addicted to sinful actions, nor did he know that his chanting of the name of Narayana was neutralizing them. See, now he's not a phony by saying, well, I knowingly am committing sins and I'm knowingly going to chant the holy names of the Lord to counteract those sins. No, he was not in that consciousness. So he says, thus he did not commit nama aparada, or nama aparada means a violation of the holy name. And his repeated chanting of the holy name of Narayana while calling his son may be called pure chanting because he didn't have a purpose for counteracting his sinful activities. He was simply calling the name of his son. Because of his pure chanting, in other words, he wasn't asking for anything from Krishna. He wasn't trying to cheat or anything like that. He was just purely chanting the name Narayana, calling his son. Because of this pure chanting, he didn't have a material objective when he called out the name of his son. Ajamila unconsciously, that's an important word, unconsciously, he didn't have a purposeful desire of chanting the name of his son. He just purely said to his son, he was just purely calling his son. Right? Ajamila unconsciously accumulated the results of bhakti. Indeed, even his first utterance of the holy name was sufficient to nullify all the sins and all the sinful reactions of his life. Wow. To cite a logical example, a fig tree does not immediately yield fruits, but in time the fruits are available. Similarly, Ajamila's devotional service grew little by little, and therefore, although he committed very sinful acts, The reactions did not affect him. In the Shastras, it is said that if one chants the holy name of the Lord, even once, the reactions of past, present, or future sinful life do not affect him. To give another example, if one extracts the poison fangs of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victims from poisonous effects. In other words, if you break the fangs, they're like very sharp razors in the mouth of a serpent. But if you break them, then he can bite you all he wants, but you won't die because he can't put any poison into your skin or into your bloodstream because you've broken his fangs. To give another example, if one extracts, means cut out, the poison fangs, very sharp teeth of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victims from poisonous effects, even if the serpent bites repeatedly. Yeah, if you take out the fangs of the serpent, then he can bite you all he wants, but you won't die because he can't put poison into your skin. He can't inject the poison into your body. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once, inoffensively, that's a very important word, inoffensively, without any offense, this protects him eternally. Wow, that's amazing. This protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the sixth chapter, of the sixth canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Ajamila Delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. Wow, this is so wonderful. And I love this last phrase. It says, if a devotee chants the holy name even once, inoffensively, that means without any material desires, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Well, that means that he need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. So if he chants the holy name inoffensively, then the results of that inoffensive chanting will mature over time. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the sixth canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Ajamila Delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. Okay, so what's the takeaway for today is the following. It says, similarly, Ajamila's devotional service grew little by little, and therefore, although he committed very sinful acts, the reactions did not affect him. In the Shastras, it is said that if one chants the holy name, the holy name of the Lord even once, the reactions of past, present, and future sinful life do not affect him. To give another example, if one extracts the poison fangs of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victims from poisonous effects. Even if the serpent bites repeatedly. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, without any offense, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. That means if the devotee is always chanting Hare Krishna, he becomes purified of all sinful activities. And if he continues doing that, then he'll be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, he says that one may argue, since he, meaning Ajamila, was constantly chanting the name of Narayana, but he was calling the name of his son, but his son's name was Narayana. So he's constantly chanting the name of Narayana. How was it possible for him to be associating with a prostitute and thinking of wine? By his sinful actions, he was bringing suffering upon himself again and again, and therefore one may say that his ultimate chanting of Narayana was the cause of his being freed. However, his chanting would then have been a nama aparada, namno bala yasya hi papa buddhi, one who continues to act sinfully and tries to neutralize his sins by purposely chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is called a nama aparada, an offense against the holy name, an offender to the holy name. In response, it may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his sins. He did not know that he was addicted to sinful actions, nor did he know that his chanting of the name of Narayana was neutralizing them. He simply chanted the name Narayana purely, calling his son. He didn't have any alternate purpose. He was just purely saying the name of his son. Because of this pure chanting, he did not commit a nama aparada, and his repeated chanting of the holy name of Narayana while calling his son may be called pure chanting. Because of this pure chanting, Ajamila unconsciously accumulated the results of bhakti. Indeed, even his first utterance of the holy name was sufficient to nullify all the sinful reactions of his life. To cite a logical example, a fig tree does not immediately yield fruits, but in time the fruits are available. Similarly, Ajamila's devotional service grew little by little, and therefore, although he committed very sinful acts, the reactions did not affect him. In the Shastras, it is said that if one chants the holy name of the Lord even once, the reactions of past, present, or future sinful life do not affect him. To give another example, if one extracts the poison fangs of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victims from poisonous effects, even if the serpent bites repeatedly. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. So that means that we devotees are always chanting every day Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now, we might be chanting mechanically. But as time goes on, we mature. And now we are chanting consciously the holy name of the Lord to glorify the Lord without any material motive. In the beginning, we may be chanting inattentively, or we may be chanting for material desires, right? Things like that. But as we mature, we begin to chant purely without any material desire and only with the purpose to glorify the Lord. But it might not be like that in the beginning. It certainly is not like it is like that in the beginning. But as we mature, we eventually begin to chant purely. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th canto, 2nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Ajamila, delivered by the Vishnu Deities. So every day we're chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But if you chant even once purely, without any, desires, you're not chanting to, heal your sickness or heal your parents' sickness or anything like that. You're just chanting purely the holy name. And that is enough to give you eternal life, because you're chanting the holy name purely without wanting anything in return, without wanting to achieve some goal, anything like that. Therefore it says, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, that means without any material motive, his projects, his projects, no, his projects, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Okay, when it says he need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time, that means that because now he's repeatedly chanting the holy name, and even if one time he chants inoffensively, he becomes protected eternally. So, practice makes perfect. We should always be chanting our rounds. And eventually we'll begin to chant purely, and that will protect us eternally. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th canto, 2nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Ajamila, delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. So one can actually write a book, a whole book, on the last couple sentences of this purport, which says, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Well, what are the results of the chanting? The results of the chanting to mature. That means that he's chanting all the time Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but any one of those many years of chanting, if he chants it at least once purely, he is protected, and he is liberated, because even once he chanted inoffensively. Okay. I think we'll stop right there. So the more sincerely we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the more we become purified and qualified to go back to Godhead. So maybe in the beginning we're mechanically chanting and we're trying to do it as fast as possible to get over with it. But as we mature in our chanting, it says, he need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. So, if we begin to become more cognizant of our chanting and not do it mechanically, but actually do it with love and devotion for Krishna, that means we've matured in our chanting. Then we become immediately liberated eternally. Okay, thank you very much, my dear devotees. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, we see that there are a lot of people who chant for like many years, and then still they fall down. So does it mean that they did not chant purely even once, or their chanting have not yet matured?
No, it means that they, at some point, were not chanting purely. So, because of that inattentiveness, they fall down. But all the chanting they did previously will always be an asset. Therefore, they will eventually understand and be sorry for the sinful activities they might commit and take up chanting again and be purified of those sins that they've committed. I mean, the best thing to do is always stay in the association of devotees. And in the association of devotees, chant Hare Krishna with them. If you lock yourself in the house or in a closet and you chant, you can easily make offenses against the holy name. But if you're always in the association of good devotees who will correct you if you're not chanting nicely, right? Then you are protected. Because if you make mistakes in your chanting, you'll be corrected. So we should always chant in the association of genuine devotees and be protected by their advice. If we simply chant alone all the time, we might develop bad habits and not even know it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to be always in the association of genuine devotees who can correct us if we are making mistakes. Yeah, like for example, if you're multitasking while you're chanting, In other words, you're chanting, but you're doing other things at the same time. That is not chanting. That is aparad, When you chant, it should be very seriously and take everything else out of your mind and just focus on the chanting as purely as possible. So that's why Prabhupada writes here, this is our takeaway. One may argue, since Ajamila was constantly chanting the name of Narayana, how was it possible for him to be associating with a prostitute and thinking of wine? But by his sinful actions, he was bringing suffering upon himself again and again. And therefore, one may say that his ultimate chanting of Narayana was the cause of his being freed. However, his chanting would then have been a nama aparada, namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi. One who continues to act sinfully and tries to neutralize his sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is a nama aparada, an aparad, or a violation of chanting the name of the Lord. Nama aparada, an offender to the holy name. In other words, you consciously are committing sins and consciously chanting Hare Krishna to counteract your sins. So that is actually a aparad or an offense against the holy name. In response, it may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his sins. Yeah, he just simply called the name of his son. Right? So it was there. He had no material purpose in calling his son. He simply called his son purely, and because his son was the name not of Narayana, he said Narayana purely, and he became purified. It may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his sins. Yeah, he was simply calling his son. He did not know that he was addicted to sinful actions, nor did he know that his chanting of the name of Narayana was neutralizing them. Thus, he did not commit a nama aparada, and his repeated chanting of the holy name of Narayana while calling his son may be called pure chanting. Because of this pure chanting, Ajamila unconsciously accumulated the results of bhakti. Indeed, even his first utterance of the holy name was sufficient to nullify all the sinful reactions of his life. So he's continually calling his son, Narayana, come here, Narayana, go here, Narayana, get this, Narayana, that. So he's not committing any Vaishnava aparada. He's simply saying the word Narayana purely. Right? So, therefore, it says, Ajamila's devotional service grew little by little, and therefore, although he committed very sinful acts, the reactions did not affect him. Why? Because he's always calling his son or talking with his son, right? And saying the name of Narayana. So even though he was committing very sinful acts, the reactions did not affect him. In the Shastras, it is said that if one chants the holy name of the Lord even once, the reactions of past, present, or future, wow, that's amazing. The reactions of past, present, or future sinful life do not affect him. To give another example, if one extracts the poison fangs of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victims from poisonous effects, even if the serpent bites repeatedly. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once, inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. That's an amazing statement, absolutely amazing. And it just shows how merciful Krishna is. So, if we chant with the purpose of counteracting our sins, that is a violation. But if we simply purely chant the name of say, Narayana, without any motive, that's pure chanting. One does not commit a nama aparad. And eventually, his chanting becomes pure because he is not asking for anything, simply purely chanting the name of the Lord. Therefore, it says here, one who continues to act sinfully and tries to neutralize his sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is a nama aparada. It's committing offense against the holy name, an offender to the holy name. In response, it may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his senses. He was simply calling his son. Right? So, Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his senses. He did not know that he was addicted to sinful actions, nor did he know that his chanting of the name of Narayana was neutralizing them. Thus, he did not commit a nama aparada, and his repeated chanting of the holy name of Narayana while calling his son may be called pure chanting because of this pure chanting, Ajamila unconsciously accumulated the results of bhakti. Indeed, even his first utterance of the holy name was sufficient to nullify all the sinful reactions of his life. And these are just amazing statements. And we have to realize the glory of the holy name. Even chanting it once will be an eternal benefit. When I say benefit, it can give us eternal purification by chanting even once purely the holy name of the Lord. So it says, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, without offense, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. So, if we chant purely, without any material purpose, the only purpose is to glorify the Lord, or we might even not know what the purpose is, but we just chant the name of the Lord. then our chanting matures and we become completely purified. So if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. So he should just continue, in other words, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without any material motive, Haribol, inoffensively. So our takeaway is, if a devotee chants the name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Okay, thank you very much, my dear devotees. Please keep chanting the holy name of Krishna and engaged in devotional service. You'll be protected. Even by saying the holy name purely once is enough to protect you eternally. So keep chanting. Don't stop.
Thanks.
And you don't need to ask for anything from Krishna. Simply chant to glorify the name of the Lord. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. Very important statements are being made in this report. All right. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Have a good day. Chant Hare Krishna. And don't worry about you want this or you want that. Just have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name. You don't have to ask for anything. You don't have to desire to have any material benefits from the chanting. Simply chant purely. If one chants the holy name of the Lord even once, the reactions of past, present, and future sinful life do not affect him. To give another example, if one exacts the poison fangs, if one cuts or breaks the poison fangs of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victim from poisonous effects, even if the serpent bites repeatedly. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. That means we should continue chanting, never stop. Right? And gradually our chanting will become pure and purer. And then that way we'll be liberated from this miserable world. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. One who continues to act sinfully and tries to neutralize his sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is a nama aparadi, an offender to the holy name. In response, it may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his sins. He did not know that he was addicted to sinful actions, nor did he know that his chanting of the name of Narayana was neutralizing them. Thus, he did not commit a nama aparada, and his repeated chanting of the holy name of Narayana while calling his son may be called pure chanting. That is our takeaway for today. We can meditate on this statement. And because of his pure chanting, Ajamila unconsciously accumulated the results of bhakti. Indeed, even his first utterance in the holy name was sufficient to nullify all the sinful reactions of his life. There you are, my dear devotees, the purification of all sinful acts by pure chanting, not chanting with the purpose of counteracting your sin, but just purely chanting the holy name. And eventually it will mature to chanting the holy name with love and devotion. Haribol. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Please chant Hare Krishna purely with no material motive and be happy. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.